Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Super Constellation flight number 1996. Our flight time today will be approximately 10 minutes. We'll reach an altitude of about 25 feet and will cover the historic past of this magnificent aircraft. Please fasten your seat belts as we prepare for takeoff. Captain Ewell and his crew trust that you'll have a pleasant and memorable trip.
In the early 1940s, the Super Constellation, flagship of the Lockheed Aircraft Company of Burbank, California, burst onto the aviation scene with a flourish and became the instant darling of the pilots that commanded her. Aviation history had its beginnings in 1903 when Wilbur and Orville Wright's flying machine became airborne. With Orville at the controls, the plane's first attempt at distance was 120 feet in 12 seconds. The third attempt on that same day resulted in a full 852 feet and took 59 seconds. From these humble beginnings, the Wright brothers went on to improve and modify their machines until only 5 years later they signed a contract with the U.S. Department of War to supply the first military airplane in 1908. On April 26, 1944, 41 years after they had proved to the world that machines could fly, none other than Orville Wright piloted the new Constellation on a 50-minute flight from the Wright-Patterson Army Base in Dayton. Then 73 years old, and after what Lockheed pilots who flew with him deemed a crack job at the controls, Wright climbed down from the cockpit and proclaimed emotionally, "Wonderful, I enjoyed every minute of it." And the man who with his brother had made aviation history added wistfully, "I always said that airplanes would fly themselves if you left them alone." In those days, long before terrorist attacks, skyjacking, and heavy-duty security became the norm, little boys and girls alike could get within close proximity of the airport runways and indeed the planes. A Super Constellation preparing for takeoff, its graceful fuselage and triple tail fins quivering as the four Wright 3350 turbo compound engines started their mighty roar, blue flames spewing all over the wings, and then garnering speed on the runway and lifting off into the great blue skies to become one with the constellation of the heavens. These images spurn many a young boy's dream to become a pilot, to command such a graceful and powerful craft, and he'd hold his breath until the Connie was clearly out of sight. The production of the Super Constellation at the Lockheed plant was a sight to behold, an army of skilled craftsmen and more than $5 million worth of tools ensured that the production ran like clockwork. From the smallest precision tool to the enormous air hammer, gigantic hydraulic press 2 stories high and weighing 2.5 million pounds, the 132,000 parts that made up the aircraft were fabricated and fitted together. Every single part was submitted to grueling tests to ensure there was no room for error. There was only one standard: perfection. Great care was taken in the interior design as well to ensure utmost comfort and a pleasant ambiance for passengers. And finally, a new Connie emerged from the hangar, ready to take to the skies. Almost overnight, the Super Constellation occupied a special place within the pilots' hearts. Named affectionately Super Connie, she started an aviation romance like no other aircraft before her. Every major airline in the world clamored to have their own Super Connie. It was a must in those days, actually, for the Super Connie outperformed most other aircrafts with regard to speed, distance, fuel consumption, and most definitely comfort. A total of 856 Super Connies were built and sold worldwide. The logo of every major airline was proudly displayed on her fuselage and distinctive tail fins, making her truly an international symbol of unity. The first prototype, the C-69, started with a gross weight of 90,000 pounds. Following 12 years of modification and redesigning, the final ship rolled off the assembly line weighing a whopping 160,000 pounds. This represented a 44.5% increase in weight, 47% power increase, and a 72% capacity increase over the original C-69. So during that relatively short time period, the Connie just kept getting bigger and better. However, the remarkable increase in capacity did not diminish passenger comfort. Where today, especially on charter flights, you're crammed into your seat, don't know what to do with your elbows as you await the sterile airline meals. In the day of the Connie, people dressed up for the occasion. Men wore suits and ties, ladies tailored suits, lovely dresses and hats. And the airline fare was something to look forward to while you winged your way across large expanses of land or oceans. Air travel had come of age. Even though several airlines offered special privileged flights serving champagne and caviar and providing luxurious berths where first-class passengers could stretch out and sleep away the darkness of the night, tourist-class passengers were afforded similar privileges, except for the caviar and comfortable berths. So being a passenger in a Connie was as much part of the excitement of the trip as the destination itself. Today, Connies no longer grace our skies. Her powerful engines and sleek fuselage lie forever forgotten in some obscure resting place. But there is an organization called Save a Connie, or SAC for short, and a handful of private enthusiasts that spared no time or effort to resurrect the Constellation to its original glory.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. The Super Constellation you're traveling on today has a wingspan of 126 feet. She is 116 feet long and 24.9 feet high and can climb to an altitude of 25,000 feet at a cruise speed of 300 miles an hour. She has a range of 3,600 miles and, like every Connie, she has her own very colorful history.
Discovered by her present owner in the remote area of Saint-Jean-Port-Joli, 120 miles east of Quebec City, where she served as the focal point of a museum, not being fully restored to her present condition, she was a sorry sight indeed. It took, however, several years of negotiating before the Connie was purchased and undertook yet another long journey, this time as a passenger. She arrived at the hangar in Toronto in June of '96, and immediately skilled men and dozens of volunteers set about to give our Connie a facelift and restore her to her original beauty and dignity. After countless hours of hard work and dedication to the task, she was ready to undertake her adventurous journey to her final destination. It was indeed a momentous task and took the skill and expertise of trained professionals to transport the huge ship along city streets. But everyone, engineers, truck drivers, crane operators, and assistants, played their part to perfection. One final time, the Connie became airborne before she was lowered to the ground to become a landmark and focus of interest to the curious and aviation buff alike. No, this Connie no longer takes to the heavens. This Connie no longer crosses oceans and mountains and deserts, but this Connie will be a proud monument to one of aviation's stellar eras for years to come.
Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Ewell and his crew thank you for sharing our Connie's history. We hope you had a pleasant flight and will join us again on future flights in our Super Connie.